Choo choo, and welcome to Ticket to Ride, one of my favorite board games. This was the game that got me into the hobby. This is what I would consider one of the many gateway games. It's one that it's not that complicated once you've learned the rules on how to play. And that's what we're here today to discuss. How to play Ticket to Ride. This is, of course, the original game with the continental US. They have a slew of other games, including Europe, France, New York, and many, many more. Rails and Sails. There are several. I have a couple I have barely even played, but it's hard to beat just the base game and what it does. What we're going to discuss is how to set up the game and how to play the game, how to finish the game. So, first off, depends on how many players you have, but let's say we're going to play with 4. So we're going to set up this game for playing for 4 players. So first thing you're going to do is you're going to take these little pegs, discs, cylinders, however you want to look at them, these little things here, and you're going to take them and you're going to place them on the 100 mark. No, you don't start with 100 points. You actually start with 0. But as you get points in this game, you're going to move along the edge of the board, showing how many points you currently have. Now, that's not to say you actually know how many points they have, because this is just what they're showing. In this game, you're going to get ticket cards, and these ticket cards, depending on how many you complete, are victory points. So you might be, at the end of the game, moved around the board here, ended up at 53, and then have victory point cards that are well over 50 and end up soaring around the edge of the board and ending up somewhere above 100. Happens almost every time. But we're going to get to that in just a second. So setup wise, you set up however many players you have and their colors corresponding with them. Those scoring markers are just to keep track of score as you go around playing the game. In this game, you have 2 different decks of cards. One is your tickets, which these are how you get victory points in the game. And then you have your train cards. These represent different colors, and depending on where you're trying to place your trains at on the map, it's a minimum requirement on what you need to actually place the trains. That might sound complicated, but I'll get to that in just a second. But these cards, they have orange, yellow, black, white, red, green, blue, and of course they have this rainbow train, which this rainbow train, so it's a wild card. You can use it for whatever color you need, and these are very valuable to have. So in the beginning of the game, you're going to be given 4 train cards at random. So these will be shuffled up, and each player will get 4 cards. These cards, like I said, have colors on them and help you with maneuvering across the board. So for instance, let's say you want to buy from Santa Fe to Oklahoma City. That takes 3 blue cards. So, for instance, looking at my hand, if I want to buy that card, I only have 1 blue card. So as a result, I would need to spend some actions trying to get more and more blue cards to purchase that route. But also for setup, in addition to the 4 cards you also get 3 route cards. And what these route cards are their locations that you need to build trains between. So for instance, this one here, I have Duluth to El Paso. Duluth is up here, El Paso is down here. I would need to build a route of continuous trains that extend from one to the other. I can go any which way I want to go. I can go all the way over here and around to here if I have to, but it makes most sense to probably try to go this way or this way. You know, whichever route you want to take is fine, as long as you have trains that connect from one end to the other end. So I have Duluth to El Paso. I also have Toronto to Miami. Now Toronto is here, Miami's down here. That's pretty straight shot there. There's a lot of ways to get there, not necessarily a super hard one. And then my last one I have is Sault Ste. Marie to Nashville. So Sault Ste. Marie is up here, and going on down to Nashville, like I said, plenty of ways to get in and out of these cities. Not too bad of cards. However, they're not all in the same area. So for instance, I'm working down here a lot. I have 2 routes that go this way and I have 1 route that goes this way. So looking at this, you might decide that you don't want Duluth to El Paso because it's taking you over here, and it's not necessarily a hard way to go. It's just not necessarily in line with what you have over here. Now, you can choose to do whatever you like. You can choose to keep all 3 of these routes, but you must keep at least 2 of the 3 routes. So where I play in this hand, I might decide to keep Sault Ste. Marie to Nashville and Toronto to Miami, because here they are. It's a pretty straight route to get all of that done. Starting off, you'll get 4 train cars, 3 tickets. Like I said, I'll just keep 2 and throw this one away. And then the last thing you have to do is you need to set up a draw stack. It's a space where you can look to see what trains are on the market. All right, then for your draw pile, you'll flip over 5 cards. These are what are considered your market. These cards can be purchased on your turn. Once you've set up this market, and once you put the starting player markers on 100, and you've dished out 4 cards and 3 route cards, you are ready to start. That's all you need to set up wise. Everyone takes their trains that are corresponding to their color. For instance, let's say I'm red. I would take all these trains, these little plastic trains that are so freaking cute. The player who is the most traveled person starts off this game. They have 3 options on things that they can do. First option is you can purchase more train cars. Odds are you probably don't have in your starting hand what you need to really purchase anything. So you will probably need to go to the market to get whatever you want. So for instance, I mentioned wanting Santa Fe to Oklahoma City. That takes 3 blue cards. So I already have 1, so I can take my turn picking up 1 card at a time and replacing. That would be the end of my turn, taking 2 cards. Now you might be asking yourself, why wouldn't you take the wild card if you could? Well, the thing about the wild card is if you take the wild card from the board, that is the only card you get. You only get 1. However, let's say I drew it from the top of the deck here, because your options are you can draw from this market or you can draw blindly from the top of the deck. If you drew it from here, then you get to keep it, which is, a rare thing and probably doesn't happen super often, but it's a risk. So you can, if you really don't like anything here, but you do need a blue or you need a wild, and there wasn't any on the board, you could draw from here, and hopefully you get what you needed. So that's your option number 1 for actions. On your turn, you get 1 action, and your action can be drawing cards from the market, whether it's from the top of the deck or from the market, or you can play cards and lay down tracks. So for instance, if I wanted to buy Santa Fe to Oklahoma City, I would lay down these 3 blue cards, and I would go over here to my trains, pull out 3, and cover up those routes. Once I've purchased these trains, this route, these cards go away into a discard pile. And so now let's answer some of the questions about the board itself. There might be a few things you have questions about. For instance, what do these double routes mean? Well, first off, anything that is gray means it's open for any color you want. It has to be the same color. So for instance, if you want to buy Dallas to Little Rock, that's 2 trains, but they have to be the same color. It can be 2 blue cards, it can be 2 pink cards, it can be whatever color you want, but there has to be 2 of them. And let's say you were going from Dallas to Oklahoma City. Well, there's these 2 dueling tracks. And what that means is I can spin cards and purchase one side of the track, yet someone else could come along and purchase the other side with 2 cards. We'd be sharing the route from Dallas to Oklahoma. That's pretty much the complicated bits about the board. It seems fairly self-explanatory to me. The third option for actions you can do is you can purchase more routes. So let's say, I pick those 2, and let's say I build everything out and cover up all of that. If I still have a good amount of trains, then the game is still going on for a bit. I might as well try to get more points. So I can do that by going over here and drawing 3 more routes and picking at least one to keep. So I could look at these routes and go, ooh, Portland to Phoenix. That's, way over here. But then I get San Francisco to Atlanta, and that's crossing all the way across the board. And then the other one is Los Angeles to Miami, which is pretty much doing the exact same thing. So, in this instance, I could pick one of them. I could decide to pick one of these long ones, or both of them, since they're more or less going the same direction, and try to rack up these points that are on them. Or I can take this Portland to Phoenix, which is a smaller route, but might be more doable. Because at the end of the game, any routes you don't have finished are negative points against you. So it's imperative that any routes you pick up, you finish, or else oftentimes you're going to lose pretty badly if you don't finish off your routes. So if you look at a card here, you can see the number of victory points in the bottom corner. So anyways, you pick one or more of these cards and you choose to keep them. So that's your 3 actions. You can draw from the market, you can play cards to play trains onto the board, or you can get more tickets if you've completed all of your tickets. And you don't have to have completed your tickets. You can choose to do tickets anytime you want. But, like I said, they're negative points against you, so you probably want to make sure you're done or pretty close to done before you pick up anything else. Next thing is scoring. So, for instance, we had this example already out here. Let's say I purchased Santa Fe to Oklahoma City. That is 3 trains in this track. So you can look on the board here, and there is a nice scoring sheet here that'll show you how many points each of them is worth. So I'll go down, I had 3 cars, look over, that's 4 victory points. So I'll move up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a scoring pad here, and there's also a card that comes with the game that shows all the scoring as well. One train is 1 point, and it goes up to 6 trains over 15 points. But we'll keep going around, placing things on the board. We'll keep placing more and more trains onto the board until eventually one person has less than 3 trains. Once someone has less than 3 trains, that triggers the end of the game. So let's say red had 2 trains left, then that would be the end of the game. Everyone would have one more round in which they can play trains onto the board to try to maximize points or complete routes. But then once it gets back to red, they have one more turn as well, and then that's the end of the game. At that point, you're going to have your markers are going to be somewhere around the board here. You'll accumulate more and more points every time you play something down. Green played this 2 here. They get 1, 2 points. And more trains that fill the board moves around this marker here all the way around. So finally you have some sort of ending place here. Once all that's done, we'll look at train routes and go through and give you the points for each of these train routes that you've completed. So for instance, let's say I completed Toronto to Miami, that'd be 10 points. That'd move up 10. And then Sault Ste. Marie to Nashville, that would be 8 more points. So we moved 8 more points up. Something else to be striving towards whenever you're playing the game as well is try to keep a continuous train route, because whoever has the longest at the end gets 10 free points. But that's pretty much Ticket to Ride in a nutshell. Once you've gotten to the end of the game, you've calculated all of your victory point ticket cards, and you've allotted the Trans-America Express. Once you've done all that, the game is over. Whoever has the most victory points going around the track wins. It's a fairly easy game once you've played a round or 2. There's a number of mini strategies in which you can go about going through the game. If you want to pick up the small routes, if you want to take the biggest routes possible, if you want to stretch yourself thin, trying to go all the way around. There's many different avenues in which to play Ticket to Ride, and to me, that's one of the more fun aspects of it. And it's an aesthetically pleasing looking game. It's a big board, takes up a lot of space. The first game that really got me into the hobby beyond, say, party games. So that's about it. Hopefully that helped you with Ticket to Ride, and hopefully you now feel confident enough to play the game and to build your trains all the way across continental U.S. And hopefully you feel confident enough that you can play on your own and have fun. And if you have any questions at all, feel free to get in the comment section. I'm happy to help with that. And that's the way we roll. See you next time.